Hello, today I'm going to walk you through some improvements we've made to our December update to mail activities in both Studio X and Studio. But let's get started with Studio X first. First thing I want to talk about is when working with Gmail, you no longer have to bring your own client ID and client secret. We now have an officially registered UiPath application with Google, so just keep the authentication type default. Click OK, and you'll be instantly taken to the Gmail authentication screen and asked to give permission to the UiPath application to work with Gmail. Likewise, we have added a default application for Outlook 365 as well. This, however, will require your Azure AD administrator to have installed the UiPath application from the Azure AD app gallery. Instructions for how to do that are in our documentation. Okay, so once I do that, let's go ahead. I'm going to work with my Outlook 365 account. The second improvement I want to talk about today that we've added is we now have an HTML editor available in our emails for creating rich emails. So let's go ahead and just do person@mailinator.com, and we're going to save this as a draft. Say test HTML email, so it'll show up in my Outlook and I can access it that way. Save as draft. And you notice now as the body, we have an option for HTML, and it's the default. What this is going to let us do is this is going to let us create rich emails with pictures, data tables, fonts, colors, things like that when working with Outlook 365 and Gmail. For local Outlook, for our desktop Outlook account, we've had the Word document available since our first general availability release in 20.4, but that trick only works with the local desktop Outlook app. It does not work when working with web email types such as Outlook 365 or Gmail. So to get started, I'm going to click Open Editor. Okay, once my editor opens, it works just like any other text editor I'm accustomed to. So I can start typing things like hello. I can choose basic things like bold, italic, set font color, highlight font, things like that. But what we probably want to walk through today is how to pull dynamic data in, as that's one of the real valuable things that we can do here. So to do that, I have to make data values available to the editor through a mapping process. So I'm going to choose Add Data Values, and I'm going to select Map Data Value here. Now I have to choose the type of data value I want to add. The first thing I want to do is map a single value. And so let's go ahead and just pull a name from our project notebook here. So we'll say first name, and let's call it first name. The second thing I'm going to do is I want to pull some table data. Let's go ahead and say indicate in Excel. And let's just create a quick table in our Scratchpad. Say ID, name, let's say 1, Andrew, 2, John, 3, Sarah, and 4, Jane. Alright, so once I've done that, I can go ahead and just select this, click confirm, and table will work just fine there. Let me click OK. So now to insert these, I'm going to click here and I'm going to say first name, and then I'll say this is the table we created. Let's insert the table. Regards, Andrew, and just for fun, let's make Andrew italic, and let's make hello bold. I'll go ahead and click Save. And with that, when I run this, it should create a draft in my Exchange account, which of course Outlook is connected to as well, so it should surface in the Outlook desktop app here in a few seconds. Alright, everything worked like we expected, so now let's go over to Outlook, and I can see that the email popped in. I can see hello is bold, John C was the first name that came out of the notebook, and here's the table we created, and I have a data table inserted with italics. So creating rich HTML emails is now that simple in StudioX, and this works across Outlook, Gmail, and Outlook 365. So what if you are a Studio user who is not currently working with the business mail activities that are available in Studio? Well, there's two answers to that. The first and simplest is we've added a create HTML content activity that is available in Studio. The activity is also available in StudioX as well. And so it lets us open the editor. It works exactly the same way, and it outputs the HTML content as a string. Data mapping works exactly the same way. Even if I have data in a variable, for example, down here I have variable 1, which has the message hello world. If I want to use it in my editor, I'm going to need to map that, do a single value. Let's call it message, and I can type variable 1. All right. Once I've done that, I can say this is the message, and then we can add it the same way that we did in StudioX. Now, it outputs this as a string, so let's save this into the HTML output string I previously created. And then if I'm working with mail types under app integration, so for example here, let's just say exchange for good measure, send exchange mail message. Obviously this is not going to be happy because it's not in a scope, but what I can do here over in the properties panel is I can say isBodyHTML, and then for the body I can say HTML output, and I've now created a rich HTML email in Studio as well as StudioX. As always, if you want to try the StudioX activities in Studio, for example, you want to take advantage of our new Gmail functionality, you can get to those by choosing the activity filter, say Show StudioX, and now under Business, you have access to the StudioX mails activities as well, including things like Use Gmail, which are just as easy to use for this purpose in Studio as they are in StudioX.